This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, a weekly recap of your 2023 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, Fogo de Show, Independence Blue Cross, and Capital Grille. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chickies and Pete's on Township Line Road in Drexel Hill. How about those Phillies this weekend? Well, we're going to talk plenty about the Phillies taking 3 of 4 from the very talented San Diego Padres. But first, let me introduce my co-host, and Gary's my special guest for tonight. Our co-host played 16 years in the major leagues, from 1972 through 1987. He was Rookie of the Year with the San Francisco Giants, back when it seemed that the Giants brought up great players every year, and they won a couple of those awards consecutively, and one of them was won by my co-host. He was an all-star in 1979 with the Atlanta Braves. And, of course, what we here in Philadelphia are most proud of is the role that he played in helping lead the Phillies to the 1983 World Series. He was the most valuable player of the 1983 National League Championship Series when the Phillies beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is number 34, Gary Matthews.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Boy, oh
for
boy.
the introduction.
And, also, then from the Phillies, Gary goes to the Cubs and leads the Cubs into the postseason. And, of course, the Sarge out there and what he did, he led the National League in on-base percentage with 410.
Wow.
I think he also led the NL with 103 walks in 84.
Yeah, stop swinging at that slider in the dirt.
Well, my goodness, he's had a wonderful career, and to this day, he's a great longtime Phillies broadcaster, telecaster, as well as with other teams. And he numbers among his friends, Dusty Baker's one of his best friends. And Dusty Baker, of course, managing the Astros to the World Series championship. We finished second. The Phillies were the NL champions. But quite a pedigree. And then don't forget his family and Junior and his major league contributions. Gary Matthews and my special guest tonight on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, and we've got a lot of fans here tonight. We thank you all for coming. Here's a guy that was one of the top young pitchers ever to come into the Phillies baseball organization, out of the great state of Washington. And he played 11 years in the big leagues, 1973 to 1983, all 11 with the Phillies. There's only a handful of players who played like 10 or more years and all with the Phillies. LC is one of them. Here's just a couple of stats to tease you with. In 1977, his win-loss record was 19-6. Of course, that 77 team with the Phillies won 101 games in the regular season, as did the 76 team, on their way to winning the NL East championship. In 1978, Larry Christenson reduced his earned run average from 4.06 to 3.24.
Wow.
and he was one of the top pitchers in the National League, despite the fact that you actually had a losing record that year, 13-14. But a lot of accomplishment. May I also say that besides being one of our 1980 postseason heroes in the NLCS and World Series, in 1981, you had a great start against Montreal in the NLDS.
Yeah.
And anyway, you're very much appreciated. And we know another number 38, Kurt Schilling, who had some great years for the Phillies. But the first number 38 is LC. Number 38, Phillies pitcher, Larry Christenson.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Sarge.
And Larry, thank you and Sarge for your enormous contributions to Phillies baseball history. LC, could you, first of all, give us a medical update on yourself, because you have been through a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, let's start with my excuses of why I had a losing. No, yeah, I last year I went through two major back surgeries and had about 7 vertebrae fused in my lower back and all new discs put in, and it's no fun. I don't wish it on anybody. So, but I am better, but I've got a long way to go. I imagine the doctor's going to tell me that give yourself another 12 months. So, but it really, it's kind of normal for a complicated surgery to give yourself enough time. All said, it's over with. I'm recuperating. I'll be fine, and it just is going to take some more time. Thank you.
Thank you, LC, and thanks for all that you've done for Phillies baseball. Sarge, I wanted to ask you about the Phillies' weekend triumph over San Diego, as the Phillies trailed in all 4 games, but were able to prevail in 3 of them. So how do you see the Phillies? How do you see the Padres after this past weekend's series?
Well, I think really both ways. Padres, I think, are probably going to continue to lose. They seem to be playing with no enthusiasm at all, no urgency. And I think the games that the Phillies end up winning really should get them on a roll, especially in the fashion in which they won the games and coming back, dramatically with hits. We've been used to teams here with the Phillies being able to hit the ball and so on, and this team is uncanny with that. They have a really good team. Defense, hopefully, will get shored up a little bit, and I'm sure Schwarber would tell you he'd be the first one that would love to just go on in DH instead of being out in left field. Those balls come out there pretty quick, and one turn or the other will make you look pretty bad, or they'll be asking, hey, why is he out there in the outfield? But in saying that, they have players that can play out there. They have some good defensive players, and in order to win, in order for the pitching staff even to be better, they're going to need better defense. I mean, back in the day when LC was pitching and having Gary Maddox there in center field, I mean, he can testify the different hits he would take, and that defense really does make pitching a lot better. So I'm looking for really the Phillies to kind of really get on a roll here and really kind of solidify their position here in the East.
Well, that would sure be nice. It would be welcomed. It was an amazing run, Sarge and LC. Last year, the Phillies struggled for a good portion of the year before getting hot. And, of course, they changed managers from Joe Girardi to Rob Thompson, Philly Rob. And Rob did a great job. And then through the postseason, all the way to the World Series against your dear friend, Dusty Baker and the Houston Astros. And a pretty good World Series. When the Phillies, my wife Kathy and I, Kathy's here tonight, we went down, the team was kind enough to take a lot of the employees down to Houston. We were down there for Game 1 when JT Realmuto's opposite field home run helped the Phillies win Game 1. and then Houston won the second one down there. We came back here, and the Phillies hit a bunch of home runs and went up 2-1. Boy, things were looking good. But you never know in the postseason. LC, you guys finally prevailed in 1980, but you had disappointments in 76, 77, 78.
You know, it's interesting in going back to the San Diego series, which Sarge was talking about. What I noticed a lot about was the how much hot dogging went on in San Diego with the players. Or Tatis hit the home run and he does his antics around the bases. You couldn't get away with that back in our era.
No,
we played.
Not at all.
You don't do that, and you really shouldn't be doing it now. I know Major League Baseball kind of been, but and then the real answer from there to what happened over the weekend with the Phillies and what went on in 1980 or 83 and what happened last year with the Phillies, keep winning. 2 words. If you keep winning, it becomes contagious, but you have to keep winning. If they would have been swept by San Diego,
oh, wow,
all of these fans out here would have been in a different mood. They're winning, and now people. I've been getting calls about the Phillies because people want to either get out to a game or now the interest is peaking now and starting to peak. And as long as they keep winning, these fans will be happy. Everybody's when they lose, everybody kind of loses with them. So, and it goes on when we in our era. In this era, but we don't know it as well because it's not as magnified, not as much press. You may read the papers, but now everything's social media, and there's 50,000 people at the games, and so it's all positive right now with the Phillies. But going back into our era, the one thing we did was we played in an era of great baseball. It was about baseball and not about the money. And I really don't need to bring that up because things have evolved and it's off the charts. And where is it going? Who knows? Wait till Ohtani signs a contract.
And Sarge, this is coming from one of the most successful ex-Phillies in terms of postseason career and financial success. The great Larry Christenson, an outstanding businessman in the Delaware Valley.
Doing a heck of a job, or has done it, for sure.
Thank you. I'm proud of my second career, and it's been a good one. So it's been a good run and met a lot of great people, and my clients are my friends, and it's just it's really important. But still, I value both of my careers. But knock on wood, like McCarver used to say. He said, "LC, you worked your rear end off." So
it's interesting too that back when Larry played, right, with the medicine wasn't as good. Now imagine him having the same kind of medicine for the arms and so on and what to do. I mean, he actually probably could still be pitching today and hanging those sliders out over the plate. But the point is that he would be sound. A lot of these guys, they get operations and they throw harder once they come back, the Tommy John in particularly. But the medicine was just so much better that enabled the players' careers to really, for them to play a lot longer.
Sarge and LC, we recently had the All-Star game, which the National League won, including getting contributions from Phillies, Nick Castellanos and Craig Kimbrell, who got the save. And the manager was Rob Thompson. Gary Matthews, you were an All-Star in 1979 with the Atlanta Braves. What was that experience like for you, and what was it like to mingle with all those other All-Stars?
Yeah, it's a great feeling because once you get there and you see the people really that are around, you feel great. Now, to contribute the way that Castellano has done and Kimbrell, it just makes it even that much better. And then to have the manager, and he'd be the first to tell you that ride last year put them in a situation where you're expected to win now. I mean, look at the crowds that we have coming out to the stadium. So they're expecting for them to put on a good show. They have started to do that here as of late, but you have to continue. You got to continue that thrive. And the one thing about Middleton, he's doing everything he can possibly do as management to bring in players. Turner's going to be a good player. There's no doubt. I've seen this kid come in as a rookie with Washington. It's just a matter of time getting comfortable here in Philadelphia. And LC, you can tell other fans as well, this is a difficult place to play at times. You got to have some thick skin to be able to play in this particular city, whether or not it's in hockey, basketball, football. The fans will call you out, and particularly if you're out having dinner or so on. It's not going to be such a good dinner if you're not performing out there on the field or out there winning.
Absolutely right. Now, we have to take our first commercial break. Our wonderful producer, Chris Ermer, tells us we're broadcasting live tonight from Chickies and Pete's on Township Line Road in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. We'll be back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. It's back. This Thursday, Chickie and Pete's celebrates Crab Fries for Heroes. It's National French Fry Day, and each order of Chickie and Pete's world-famous crab fries is only $1. Personal pictures of ice-cold Miller Lite are only $5. All sales from these two items benefit the Fraternal Order of Police Survivors Fund. Remember, it's just $1 for each order of crab fries and $5 for each personal picture of Miller Lite. This Thursday, at participating locations, some restrictions apply. Only at Chickie's and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
There really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes a great choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With our MVP pricing guarantee, teammate rewards program, and streamlined customer experience, our award-winning operation ensures that you can trust our process. A home team advantage is nothing without the community. Our employees are part of our family, part of your town, and we're all part of the team. We're always here for you at one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, and Glen Mills, or at teamtoyota.net.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Here's Gary Sarge Matthews right here. I'm Dan Baker. We're joined by the great LC, number 38, Larry Christenson.
Oh, you got a lot of fans.
Got my bat.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'll tell you
A lot
what.
of fans you have going on there.
Look at the bat. See that? See?
LC, I remember seeing you and George Pizek. You brought George Pizek with you tonight, a good friend, on the way to Cooperstown a few years ago. And of course, the Hall of Fame inductions are coming up this year.
Yeah.
And Scott Rowland, former Philly, Fred McGriff. I want to ask you both about recognition. And, you know, anybody that makes it to the big leagues and has great years, look at you, 19-6 in 1977. We all like to be recognized for our accomplishments.
Sure.
Now, Sarge, Rookie of the Year, NLCS MVP. There's not a whole lot of those around. You're one of them. What is the criteria? What does it take to get into a Wall of Fame with the Phillies or the Chicago Cubs? You had some great years out there as an example. Is it media attention? Is it length of certain?
I think stats kind of speak for themselves. I mean, I think LC would agree that a guy like, say, Vida Blue or even a Richie Allen deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's hard to put people in like they did before Lee Smith, who had a lot more saves than the guys that were being put in. You know, when you look at different awards, or even like the Wall of Fame, or in particular for me, because playing in the field, when you look out there and you see that you're better than half the people that were up there, well, it kind of questions you, go like, whoa, what's going on? But the fact is, again, that I've had so many of two categories I fell into. I knew a lot of the black Negro League players from double duty Radcliffe and the guys here with the Philadelphia Stars, and they would say, hey, man, you could have played in this league here. Well, that's really validation and makes you feel good. Also, I fell into the category where about 5 times they said, oh, if we could take one more player, we take you to the All-Star game. Well, what that does is it gives you motivation, I think, even for the second half, regardless of how you do. But sometimes it can be a popularity contest. Sometimes you rub somebody the wrong way. But again, there's no denying on, you know, what your stats say or the things that you've accomplished and done to make a particular team win. You know, one of the things any of my teammates would say is that, hey, the guy had our back always. You know, may not have caught every ball, but if I didn't, I'd make sure I drive in a run to make that up. But having, again, Maddox out there, it just made your work so much easier. And I was with him all through the minor league, so was used to him in playing, in particular in the outfield, you know, just about our whole lives and careers. But I always thought stats speak for themselves, and I certainly think Richie Allen deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I know you think that too, LC.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the committees to try to help. Richie Ashburn never wanted, Dick Allen, my Dick Allen teammate, he never lobbied for anything. And back in our era, Gary, nobody lobbied for any of this. And the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, they earned it. But turn the clock back maybe the last 20 years, you've seen a lot of lobbying for people for the Hall of Fame and executives and other people and letter writing and all that. That's going on nonstop, and I don't want to mention any names, but and more power to them if they deserve it and they're in and they're voted in. More power to them. But there's a lot of lobbying and certainly we're lobbying for Dick Allen because he does deserve it. But there's a lot of politics going on too. You can't lobby sometimes against politics, and that's why people are lobbyists for the politics and try to push things through. So I think, you know, getting the rewards and awards and the recognition, it's a good question. But the guy, like Sarge said, you got the stats, you earned it. But somebody really wants it hard, they lobby with their politics or people. And mention Wall of Fame, you know, that's another story. I think it's somewhat, you know, become a lot of popularity stuff and people that are, but it's up to them. That's the Phillies organization.
Sure, exactly.
And they're made there, and like with Ruley Carpenter and Quinn going in, people, you know, they're posthumously going in, but they're, you know, we knew Ruley. I didn't know Quinn, heard about him. Paul Owens is already in, but it used to be all just players on there. Then when they got, you know, Harry Callis, broadcaster, and you know, Ashburn was a player, but Richie was on there. But it's up to the Phillies and their criteria, and it's up to the Hall of Fame and their criteria, and then that's how people earn it or lobby for it.
Well, you guys have both been to Cooperstown. Isn't that a great experience?
It is, yes.
First of all, just the sighting and where it is, it's just beautiful. Really is. It's usually really nice and green. Might be a little hot and humid coming up here.
Yeah. We do have our
but-
teammate there. We heard of our Pete Rose. Our buddy Pete Rose is up there. Now he's not lobbying anymore, but he's not allowed in. But to come in, he makes more money than anybody signing autographs up there. He's up there every year, and I always go see him if I'm up there going into to support some former teammate or something. Like Jim Cott last year, I went up, and Pete was there. Went out to dinner with him, hung out, and he had a bunch of guys come in. They were doing a documentary on him, but Pete's, come induction day, he skips town, but he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not because he made a big mistake. So if anybody deserves being in there.
Well, when you start talking about politics again and so on, I mean, there you go. I mean, I think personally for me, and I like this player, Scott Rowland. I think he's one of the best players that the Philadelphia Phillies have had, and particularly at third base. Well, let me tell you, when you get compared to Michael Jack in your whole career, and no, he wasn't a Michael Jack, but he held his own at third base defensively and also offensively. I got mixed emotions on that. I think he should have went in as a Philly, but because he wasn't treated really the way he felt as a player here in Philadelphia, and he loved St. Louis, and St. Louis is a strong organization and have been, and he had some good years over there, but it would have been nice to have had him go to the Hall of Fame as a Philadelphia Philly, personally for me, and a lot of respect for him, a heck of a player, just a heck of a person, and I've enjoyed him play throughout his career. Personally.
That was his choice.
Yeah.
Well, think of the Hall of Famers that both of you have played with. When you each think of some of the greatest players with whom you performed, both as a teammate, as an opponent, Sarge, who comes to mind first for you?
With the Phillies?
Throughout baseball.
Oh, well, that's so difficult. I've been around Willie Mays.
Yeah, Willie Mays, yeah.
Willie McCovey was my locker partner. I've known and talked with Ted Williams, big influence, along with Hank Aaron. So, I mean, that's impossible for me to be able to answer. But honestly, here with the Phillies, you got to start personally with me, with Steve Carlton, and then we can start talking about the rest. His work ethic and what he demanded from players that played behind him without even saying a word was uncanny. I mean, he was the type of guy, personally for me, that you didn't want to let down. Right. At all. Yeah. And
you voted about me. You didn't care about that, but
well, no, I care about you. He kept the ball in front. You ran me up on the walls a lot of times.
Your neck is sore, right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, just the way he competed, and he just demanded excellent.
It was win day when Lefty pitched.
That's what we called it. Yeah. Win day when Lefty went out on the mound, and that's why I have so much respect for John Denny, because he won that Cy Young there in '83, and Steve Carlton was on the team. John had one heck of a year that particular year, and I don't know what his ERA was, but the guys back then took a lot more pride on ERA and walking guys.
That was a good. I mean, '83 we had, as far as Hall of Famers, you had Steve Carlton and Mike Schmidt. And then you had Joe Morgan and Tony Perez, all kind of on the same infield, right?
Yeah.
And Pete Rose, who is not in the Hall of Fame, but, we can call him kind of a Hall of Fame player.
Statistically, he should be.
Hall of Fame player, yeah.
And then defensively, you put in Ozzie Smith. Was there a better center fielder than Gary Maddox with 8 Gold Gloves in a row?
Yeah.
I mean, we put some players in because of defensively. I talked about that with Dan earlier today. But then the other players don't get consideration, maybe because it's center field and maybe infield.
Yeah.
You know, Ozzie wasn't the greatest hitter, but you didn't want to hit anything,
Yeah.
you know, around him for sure. And the same thing with Maddox in the outfield.
Well, before you was Lazinski out in left field, and when he was behind me quite a few years. So, but he would cover, like, be turned towards the left field line, and he would cover like 20 yards this way, and Maddox would cover everything behind him. And then you had Bake out there to cover a lot of ground. So,
Yeah,
you know,
he was a
we had
fast
some- he was
runner,
pretty
though.
fast. I love to watch him go around the base and their helmet fly up with their big afros
Afros.
going, and so yeah, that was a real treat.
Oh,
but
gosh.
yeah, and then I'm sorry you were banging against the wall quite a bit out there, but
He might have could have played another couple years if it hadn't been for that.
that was the year my arm went downhill.
But see, this is what I'm saying. If the medicine had been better, maybe he gets another 4 or 5 years and could get to that 20. You ever think about, man, I could have got to 20 games? You had to have thought about it. It's like hitting 299,
Yeah.
for Christ's sake. I
Yeah.
mean, were there any games that you thought, man, I had this one? Or
Well, that one year, it was like the first half of the season. I mean, I think I won 14 out of the last 15, and I won the last day of the season. That was number 19. It was like, man, I was on a roll. But
Wow.
the first part of the season, I got, it was some tough luck and some injuries, and it just didn't work out. But other than that, hey, I had a lot of fun.
19
and teammates like
six
Gary,
is,
it was a lot of good times. We
I
had a lot
hate
of
to
fun.
interrupt this fun right
Yep.
now, but we've got to pause
Take a
for
break.
commercial break, and then we'll be right back with the second half of tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bulls session.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. It's back. This Thursday, Chicky and Pete celebrates crab fries for heroes. It's National French Fry Day, and each order of Chicky and Pete's world famous crab fries is only $1. Personal pitchers of ice cold Miller Lite are only $5. All sales from these two items benefit the Fraternal Order of Police Survivors Fund. Remember, it's just $1 for each order of crab fries and $5 for each personal pitcher of Miller Lite. This Thursday at participating locations, some restrictions apply. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
There really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes a great choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With our MVP pricing guarantee, teammate rewards program, and streamlined customer experience, our award-winning operation ensures that you can trust our process. A home team advantage is nothing without the community. Our employees are part of our family, part of your town, and we're all part of the team. We're always here for you at one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, and Glen Mills, or at teamtoyota.net.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hey, for those of you listening at home, I don't know if you could hear it at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill, but they were talking about Fogo de Chão and Eddie V's seafood. So, LC, you and all of our guests receive gift certificates for those 2 outstanding area restaurants. And it's a way for us to try to say thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been there. I've been to both of them. They're very good. Right in King of Prussia, they're right there. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought Fago de Chao was down at 13th and Chestnut.
They have different locations. They have one out at King of Prussia, and Eddie V's is right out near the mall, a little beyond. Yeah.
Well, please.
Thank you.
I hope you'll be able to take advantage of that. You know, Chris Ermer, who has been the producer for so many wonderful sports shows on WBCB, and Sarge and LC were just marveling at both of your popularity. You see this crowd? We've had a crowd 12 and 15 deep the whole show.
Yeah, that's for LA.
Wanting to get your guys' autographs. So
yeah, that's for LA.
I think it's a real compliment and a way of saying thank you for all that you have contributed to Phillies baseball over the years.
Well, they haven't seen LC here in a while, so, they have a tendency to jump on board with the pitchers. LA when he's on, and LC.
I used to live out this way. I lived in Ardmore, just down the road a little ways. From here, past Upper Darby, Havertown, right to Ardmore.
Wow.
And then Richie Ashburn bought my place when my arm fell apart in 83. In 84.
Wow. We could have used it.
Remember, you kind of threw me a send-off party to get out of town, right?
Did I?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, we had fun times, Sarge. He was a great teammate, Sarge, Gary Matthews. And I remember facing him with the Giants and with the Atlanta Braves, and I was just a young guy, but Sarge was a tough hitter. He never got a hit off me, but Sarge got, I think, plenty of knocks, but he was a hard-nosed player with all of the teams that we played against, and then certainly when he joined us, that's why we brought him over, and what a great player and a lot of fun too, Sarge. We had a good time.
Yeah, had some great teammates. Tug McGraw on that team. What a special guy. What a special person Tug was. From barbecuing pigs or from just he loved to have a good time, and I'm so happy I got a chance to meet his son Tim.
Oh, how about them?
McGraw.
Faith Hill.
Yeah. He's incredible. He actually wore Tug's World Series ring when I actually saw him.
I think Tim McGraw, the famous country singer, even spread his father's ashes on the mound.
Really?
I was there. Yeah, we
wow.
We went to the vet.
Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, well, it was. I did Tug's eulogy, and then Ed Cranepool on the Met side did eulogize Tug, and then he's in a box right behind me. I'm going, what? And Roran Brewster hands me the box. I go, what's this? He said, it's Tug. And I said, what do you mean it's Tug? And he said, well, it was cremated. I'm going, I don't know, didn't know that. I go, I'm not, I'm too a little emotional about Tug losing the Tugger. So anyway, but his wishes were to be spread down at the ballpark. Well, they had demolished Veterans Stadium. It was just all demolished, but it wasn't completely down. But we went out. It was Hank McGraw. Now Tim was supposed to be around, but he wasn't around. He didn't want to draw attention to what was going on with Tug. But we opened the box and tried to spread his ashes both at the vet and over at the new ballpark in 2004 when it opened. So the wind was all over, and we had ash. We had Tug all over us, like only Tug could, get all over it. And then we brought him over to the new ballpark and spread ashes there too.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's where his ashes are at both. So
unbelievable.
But Tim was certainly there in spirit, and Tim took care of him in his last final days and took him to die in Nashville. And so
Number 45, Tug McGraw.
The great Tugger.
Well, I'll tell you what a joy it has been over the years to introduce you wonderful Phillies baseball players. Let's talk about the current Phillies. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're pretty far behind the Braves. Something like
forget about it.
10 games, and in fact, even between the Braves and the Phillies, the Miami Marlins, who are a game better than the Phillies. Below us, of course, the New York Mets, who have struggled, And the Washington Nationals are like 25 out. They're not going to be part of the race.
No, they can make vacation plans.
How do you see the NL East playing out, Sarge, NLC? Sarge, starting with you.
Well, again, it's up to the Phillies. They got to win. They got to win the series. The Atlanta Braves play sound baseball. They work on it daily. Where Washington is taking them out infield with ground balls and so on. They don't make a lot of mistakes to hurt themselves, and then they have some guys that, man, can really hit the ball. That Acuna is one of the best hitters in the game. He's not swinging at a lot of bad pitches now. The first baseman that they end up getting from Oakland has really kind of come into his own, taking over for Freeman, and Freeman
Olsen
continues to do very well. Yeah, Olsen. But they have a rounded team and young players that are like in their prime. So they're going to be very hard, I think, to catch up. And the way the season's stacking up, that they're going to probably mostly start thinking about the wild card of just getting in. Because remember, they got in and was probably the worst team to get in, and look where they ended up, right there in the World Series. So, they made it to where you don't have to play your best ball in order to get into the playoffs, and the Phillies showed that last year. It's going to be difficult, but the name of the game is to win the series. If you can win the series, you're going to be fine, but you can't win 3, then lose 4. Or win 4, then lose 6. That's more playing 500 ball in order to make some ground now in this second half. They're going to have to start to win the series.
Kind of like what I said, the 2 words, keep winning. Winning, you need to win. Atlanta's going to be a tough one to catch because they are a good team. Sarge mentioned all the young players they got. When they got these young players, they also locked them into long-term contracts right away, and it's working. Made them comfortable, gel as a team. They're all getting along, and winning's contagious. And I think they got a couple of pitchers that are on the disabled list and ready to get back in the starting rotation. But we've got a good, solid team. The Phillies aren't really chasing Atlanta. They're going to be really lucky to be able to catch Atlanta. What they're chasing is that wild card, and they know it. So that's all they need to get in there is the wild card, and I think they've got a good shot at that. But then keep winning series. It's,
Sarge, you were talking about team chemistry on our ride over here this evening. Phillies, Padres. How important is that?
Well, winning gives you great chemistry, to be quite honest. I don't like the effort the Padres are putting in. They're just putting off like just almost as if they're going through the motions. I know they're trying to win, but it's, the way you go about it. When you look at the Atlanta club, and I don't want to keep bringing them up because they are in the division, but they get a guy on second base. When the guy gets him over, they're giving that guy a high five as if he's driven in the run. That's playing pretty good team baseball. And you're going to have to do that if you're going to be, I think, successful in trying to carry on. I mean, the pitching, I think, is going to get better. Thank God they end up having have a closer like Kimball. Yeah. I mean, could you imagine not having a closer on this team?
Yeah.
Once you get to the point, you need that closer, close it down, no matter if it's 1 run or 2 run, and he's done a terrific job this year in order for them to win the games that they won. But, they're not hiding anymore. Teams are getting up for them. They're playing tough ball. And then sometimes, because of errors, the Phillies shoot themselves in the foot, but they do have hitters that they're able to come back. And for me, guys like Turner hasn't really gotten hot yet. Bryce Harper really hasn't really gotten hot the way that he can. And once that happens, because they're in the middle of the lineup, those guys say they should be ready to go. They're two of the better runners on the team. They can score on balls in the gap. It should be fun to watch here if they can have the consistency that they need, like they did playing against the Padres.
Plus the trade deadline's August 1st, and the Phillies will do something to improve the team.
They're talking about Schwarber. I've heard mention him, but I personally, for me, if you trade a guy like that, you're going to take away a little bit of heart. If we can get him where he's DHing, because the players really do respect and like him a lot. And they're going to have withdrawals, I think, if you get rid of a guy like that. Now, in saying that, yeah, strikeouts are a lot. I'm not concerned about that so much as I would be the defense, because that defense, it makes those pitchers throw an extra 2 or 3 hitters, which they could be on the bench, and now they're in a tough situation. Doesn't always turn out right.
Larry Christenson, Gary Matthews, Dan Baker. We have to pause for our last commercial break of the evening. Then we'll be back to conclude this week's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. It's back. This Thursday, Chicky and Pete celebrates Crab Fries for Heroes. It's National French Fry Day, and each order of Chicky and Pete's world famous crab fries is only $1. Personal pitchers of ice cold Miller Lite are only $5. All sales from these 2 items benefit the Fraternal Order of Police Survivors Fund. Remember, it's just $1 for each order of crab fries and $5 for each personal pitcher of Miller Lite. This Thursday at participating locations, some restrictions apply. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Chickies and Pete's on Township Line Road in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. And for those of you who are not here in our live audience, and man, we sure do have a wonderful audience, LC and Sarge, tonight. It's been nonstop getting autographs from these 2 wonderful former Phillies. We have one segment of the show. Of course, you know we're on every Monday. Next Monday, the Phillies are home Monday evening with the Baltimore Orioles. Consequently, our show will take place, and Sarge will be co-hosting with me next Monday afternoon, 12 noon at Chickies and Pete's, 15th Street and Packer Avenue, around the corner. And we don't have our guest confirmed for next Monday night. But look who we have tonight, Larry Christenson.
Yeah.
Look who we have every night.
Yeah.
We're going to have a wonderful guest, and we hope you wonderful people will be able to join us also. LC, we were talking about team chemistry before the last break. Wanted to ask you about team chemistry on your Philly teams of the 70s, particularly. You played through 83. And I want to ask your assessment of the chemistry that you've observed with the 2023 Phillies.
Yeah, I think, Sarge hit it on the head, and I mentioned it up front too about winning, and winning is contagious, and winning creates the chemistry, hands down, the easiest way to create it. And then, being good teammates and watching out for each other on and off the field and having a good time and enjoying your winnings. But on the field, it's hard-nosed, and we played in the day of hard-nosed baseball, 76, 7, 8, those years and beyond and before that. But those years, we kept winning 100-some games.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't. And remember, there was probably only 600 and some players in the major leagues at the time. So it was a concentrated group of men out there playing hard-nosed baseball, and it wasn't about the money. It was about, success and winning, and the only way to feel that is to, like Embiid on a radio show or a press conference, he wants to feel that championship feeling. He's never felt that. And that was an interesting comment because it's right. Look at what last year, the World Series. Look at how it amped up the fans and the people again, like 2008 and 80. We were on the field. We didn't know that. But Sarge, remembers the winning years. And then and when you don't win, and I remember early years about Chicago Cubs, and they have a first half of the season, all-day games, no lights. And then the second half of the season, they start tailing off, and they couldn't wait till the season to end. Couldn't wait for it to end. We wanted it to go on forever. It did not, because we had those short 5-game series and lost out got swept by the Reds, and then got 2 Dodgers series that were all really sad. Now the team has a chance again to gel like they did last year. There is a chemistry there on that team. Sarge mentioned if you take like Schwarber away, you take some of the heart away.
Yeah.
That's true. But they've got to do something, and they will make changes. But I don't think they will take that heart out of some of those guys, because I think it will have an effect on the chemistry.
Sarge, postseason recollections of yours with the Phillies and the Cubs.
As far as the
feeling, the chemistry on the team.
Yeah.
And of course, you won the
compared
NLC.
to the Cubs. I mean,
Yes,
the chemistry
yeah.
there on the Cubs, too. I mean, when you're talking to players that we had, again, we started winning, and then we ended up getting Sutcliffe. We had Eckersley. So the chemistry there was great. We ended up trading Bill Buckner to Boston there, and was a great hitter. He's another one that should be considered, I think, for the Hall of Fame. But again, when you're winning, Dan, everything just seems to be much better. I know getting traded to the Cubs from Phillies, I was not a happy camper at all, especially after being in the World Series. I think the toughest thing to do is to really compete and win after you've gone to that World Series. And then if you've won it, it's almost kind of like a letdown. Like when I talk with J-Ro, he says, man, we should have won it 2 or 3 times. LC's talking about 77, 78. There's a good chance they could have actually got in there 77, 78, those 3 years. Now, if they win it 2 years, what does that do for the legacy after winning it there in 80? They win in 77, 78. The Dodgers kept them out twice from going to the World Series. That's why this particular series, after they had beat us 11 out of 12 times
in the regular season,
during the regular season, was really so special. And then to beat Dusty and Tom Lasorda just kind of really personally put icing on the cake for me because Tom Lasorda in the minor leagues with me playing with the Giants, he was with the Dodgers and the manager just beat us like a drum.
Well, that was a great rivalry, West Coast rivalry, Giants and Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, it extends all the way back to New York City with the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then they carried it out there to L.A. and San Francisco. Well, do you see the Phillies, Sarge or LC? We talked a little bit about, but not specifics, in terms of what to do at the trade deadline. I think, LC, you mentioned that knowing Dave Dombrowski, you expect something.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you expect?
Well, they have to give up a lot if they're going to get something that's a really top-tier player.
Good point.
So if it's a starting pitcher, they got to go big. They need to get those, a couple of arms in the bullpen back to be, to help Kimbrel out. And then, but one starting pitcher would be something. But I think they're looking for a right-handed bat to replace kind of Hoskins, Yeah. And then they got to juggle a little bit with the DH and with Harper at first base possibly, and outfield, and now they're shaking everything up and moving stuff. There's a couple of guys on the DL, and so there's a lot of roster changes going to happen. 1980, there were a tremendous amount of roster changes, if you recall. I remember I had to have one of my 5 elbow operations in the middle of that season. Came back within a couple of months and pitched again, but I had like 7 bone spurs taken out. But so there's going to be, I think there'll be some juggling, but they'll be very careful about what they do with the chemistry of the team.
Who would you target, though? Is there anybody in particular that you see as, or any position where you see a greater need than another?
There's a lot of discussion about third base, and Arenado from the Cardinals has a declining contract as far as salary. Like 25 mil, 17, and maybe 16 million last year. So I've got him for about 3 years. But then you got young Bone, but they would want him. So that's where you have to juggle. Who do you give up some of your young talent to get an older player just to help you for 1 year? That's going on around the whole league, is doing just like the Phillies are doing. So I don't know what they're going to do. Good luck to them.
Last word goes to Gary Sarge Matthews.
You know what I want to talk about in this last little bit? A lot of people don't realize, and they're astonished of the way that Ohtani is hitting, and they really should be. But we had guys back in the day from Bob Gibson and even LC that hit home runs in the major leagues as pitchers, which was actually another threat. I understand he has a grand slam in Chicago. I'm sure the wind must have been blowing out, blowing in that day. But to have 11 home runs in the major leagues as a pitcher, I think is phenomenal.
I think LC and Rick Wise are tied for the most career home runs for Phillies baseball. We'll see you next week.
Wow.
That concludes tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
Right.
It's been something, hadn't it? Larry Christenson, Gary Matthews, I'm Dan Baker. See you next Monday.
You've been listening to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 WBCB.